Hello, everyone. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted in favor of Donald Trump's impeachment with an article charging him of a conduct that is threatening national security, democracy, and the Constitution if he's allowed to remain in office. Now, the question that we need to answer and clarify is why did Democrats and some Republicans seek to impeach the sitting president just days before his term ends? And for that reason, we have the pleasure to have Sheri Berman with us here today, Professor of Political Science at Columbia University. Professor Berman, thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
It's my pleasure.
So Democrats pushed for a second impeachment. Was this a symbolic move or an essential one? And in what sense would this be essential?
So I think it was both. And I think really the best way to think about it is as a prospective move. That is to say, obviously, Trump is going to be out of office in a few days. So even though theoretically he could do some damage, I think the idea is as a warning to future presidents and future officials that this kind of behavior will not go unpunished. So I think the way to think about this impeachment is as sending a signal not just to Trump, but just to people in the future that the rule of law, respecting the Constitution and upholding the norms and institutions of democracy is something that is necessary and that if it is not done, will not go unpunished.
In order for the first ever conviction in a presidential impeachment to be secured, a majority of 2/3 in the Senate trial is necessary. Now, as far as Republicans are concerned, we have seen a shift by Mr. McConnell. He didn't say how he will vote, but all chances might be open. Do you believe in the coming weeks or months that the Republicans will move towards eliminating Mr. Trump's mark in the party, or are they going to be less concerned about it?
Well, I think it is very hard to say. I mean, we did see some Republicans, as you note, break ranks in the House, which is both different from what happened in the first impeachment and historically unusual. I mean, we've had 3 impeachments, I guess now 4 in the United States. And in general, these things are very partisan. So the very fact that some House Republicans broke is significant. As you said, you would need 17 to break in the Senate because you need a 2/3 majority, so 67 votes, and the Democrats have 50. Again, on the assumption that all 50 Democrats vote against Donald Trump after the trial in the Senate. So will 17 Senate Republicans break? It is very, very hard for me to say. Thus far, even though we have seen, again, some Republicans speak out openly against Trump, a clear desire on the part of McConnell and others simply to get rid of him as he is a distraction and he is dragging the party down. Openly voting against him in the Senate, again, after he is out of office, is not simply a vote against him, but it is a vote that could have some significant electoral consequences for the many, many Republicans who voted for Trump. And while even Republicans are overwhelmingly negative about the storming of the Capitol, a disturbing majority of them still believe that the 2020 election was marred by significant fraud. So, one has to imagine that these Republicans have, their eyes, again, forward as well as backwards. That is to say, on what their chances are going to be in upcoming elections. Many of them clearly harbor ambitions perhaps to run for the president themselves. And so it would be surprising to me if a full 17 of them broke ranks. But, frankly, what has been going on in the United States over the last 4 years, and in particular over the last couple of weeks, is really, I think, unprecedented and somewhat, therefore, unpredictable.
You have written in one of your articles that that if Mr. Trump and the Republican Party had won the elections, then the damage for America could have been irreparable. But now, in terms of the new administration, how do you think Mr. Biden should move forward without disappointing his voters, while at the same time reversing a populist mentality that has probably been ingrained in large parts of society?
So that's really the most important question. And it, of course, touches on a variety of issues, impeachment and the trial in the Senate among them. Look, Biden has sort of two key tasks. One is to deal with the immense immediate problems at hand, from COVID, from the economic downturn, from the evisceration of parts of the American state that have happened under Donald Trump, a whole variety of short to medium term problems that he really needs to jump on very quickly. And then there are the longer term political and social issues that you referenced as well, which is that Donald Trump is a symptom of deeper dysfunction in American society and politics. He is not the cause of it, although he has obviously furthered and deepened a lot of those very negative trends. And so Biden also has to be concerned about figuring out some way to reach out to those almost 50% of Americans who voted for Trump and the very large percentage of American voters who, again, believe without any real reason that this election was, fraudulent, that it was marred by significant fraud. Now, he doesn't have to get those people to vote for him potentially in 2024 or vote for Democrats, but he has to tamp down the negative partisanship, the animosity, the absolute distrust that is pervasive in American society. Otherwise, it is very hard for me to imagine how our political system can function, how our society can heal, how we can deal with all of these problems that we face. So he really has to heal divisions and deal with, a really unprecedented range of challenges. I wish him the best. I don't envy him. But as he moves forward in determining, again, whether or not how he's going to react to, the trial in the Senate, how much he wants to push that, how much he wants to prioritize it in his agenda in the first days in office. These are the kinds of calculations that he needs to be thinking about.
And let me ask you, lastly, with all that happened last week, but also in the last 4 years, the image of the United States, its reputation around the world, one could legitimately argue it's been damaged. Could that damage last for long, or is it possible we'll see very soon the results of a different kind of political approach, starting internally and then being extended to the international setting?
Well, just as America's domestic problems are not going to be solved in the next year or even the next 4 years, I imagine the damage that our politics has done to our international reputation is not going to be solved after January 20th, regardless of how much effort Biden puts into trying to repair our alliances, trying to repair our reputation, trying to have the United States be a positive contributor to solving world problems. This will take time. Of course, anything is possible. We've seen countries with worse reputations, sort of rehabilitated. You are in Europe, so you're very aware that there are a lot of countries that people thought could never be peaceful, democratic members of world society and that have been turned into exemplary ones. So, of course, I think America's reputation can be improved, but that will take concrete efforts. It will take consistency, and it will take convincing people that the United States is a force for good, and the United States is a force for democracy, and the United States wants to work cooperatively to solve problems that extend outside of our borders. I sincerely hope that the Biden administration is able to do that, but I suspect that it will take a significant amount of time.
Professor Berman, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.